Okay.
Open this mic, please, so we can get started. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody who's present. My name is Natalia Greene. I'm the director of the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature, and we are very pleased to be here today to talk about the rights of nature at COP. The rights of nature is a global movement that has been growing more and more, especially since the inclusion of the rights of nature in the Ecuadorian Constitution in 2008, my country, Ecuador, that now is facing a threat of the rights of nature. Today, we're going to be speaking about the rights of nature and the messages that we're bringing to COP30. We are going to listen from our partners here, and we're going to be talking about the rights of the Amazon, the rights of indigenous people and rights of nature, the rights of Antarctica, and the International Rights of Nature Tribunal. 4 really important messages that we have been able to bring to COP30 to really enhance the negotiations that are not really talking about the real issue, that are not talking about reshaping our relationship with nature, that are only talking and focusing on how to finance more this destruction. We are talking from a different perspective. We are talking from our hearts. We are talking from the voice of the Amazon, from the voice of Antarctica, understanding that nature is not an object that you exploit, it's a subject that you protect. And therefore, we are bringing these important voices to do a call for governments regarding the need to change a paradigm that it still thinks that nature is an object, that still thinks that nature is a resource. We need to change that perspective, we need to change the language, and we really need these negotiations to be talking about the real thing, that we are nature and that we need to protect nature. So I'm going to start with Pablo Solón. Pablo Solón right here next to me. He is part of Fundación Solón. He is from the Amazon Assembly, World Assembly. And he's going to talk a little bit about the Declaration of the Rights of the Amazon, that is one of the initiatives that we're bringing to this COP. Go ahead, Pablo.
Muchas gracias. Voy a hablar en español. Esta es una conferencia de cambio climático en la Amazonía, pero no con la Amazonía. La Amazonía no está presente realmente en esta conferencia de cambio climático. Aquí tenemos representantes de los gobiernos de países amazónicos y de todo el mundo, pero no están representados los ríos de la Amazonía, los bosques de la Amazonía, la biodiversidad de la Amazonía. Y lo mismo ocurre con la representación del Himalaya, de la Antártica, de los océanos, no están presentes. Entonces, primero, cuando nosotros hablamos de una declaración de derechos de la Amazonía, lo que queremos lograr es que esta clase de conferencias cambien, que no sean solo de representantes de gobiernos, sino sean también de representaciones de la naturaleza, de representaciones de la Amazonía a través de la comunidad científica, de la comunidad de ambientalistas, de la comunidad de pueblos indígenas. Para que las conferencias den un resultado, no tienen que ser conferencias antropocéntricas, solo centradas en la perspectiva humana y con participación solamente de los gobiernos. La Declaración de Derechos de la Amazonía se ha ido construyendo a lo largo de muchos años. Es fruto de sesiones del Tribunal Internacional de Derechos de la Naturaleza, que ha sesionado y emitido sentencias sobre el tema de la Amazonía, y ha sido redactada en el marco del Foro Social Panamazónico. Desde nuestro punto de vista, lo que nos plantea una Declaración de Derechos de la Amazonía es que es tiempo de pensar en una visión holística, integral, de los derechos de la Amazonía, no solamente de un río, no solamente de ciertos animales, no solamente de ciertos árboles, sino de un conjunto, de una región, de un ecosistema como es la Amazonía. Los derechos de la naturaleza son una invitación a pensar en la integración y en la interrelación de todos los componentes de la naturaleza. Cuando hablamos de derechos de la Amazonía, nosotros opinamos que hay que pensar también no solo en que la Amazonía es un sujeto de derechos, sino que hay que desarrollar, construir una economía para la Amazonía que conviva con la naturaleza. Esta economía que nos han dejado su legado los pueblos indígenas, pero que es olvidada por mecanismos de privatización y de mercantilización de la naturaleza. La Declaración de Derechos de la Amazonía es una invitación a pensar que los ríos tienen derechos, pero que el agua también, porque los ríos son también los ríos voladores que surjan por la Amazonía y que si nosotros no reconocemos que el agua tiene en su conjunto derechos, lo que vamos a hacer es agravar esta crisis que estamos viviendo. Por último, los derechos de la Amazonía son una invitación a que nosotros empecemos a pensar también en los derechos de los bosques tropicales del Congo, de Indonesia, en los grandes nevados, y que vayamos poco a poco construyendo cada vez más una articulación jurídica, legal, social y de la naturaleza para hacer que esto se haga realidad. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Pablo. And now we're going to continue with Casey Camp-Horinek. Casey is our indigenous Ponca leader nation, and she is the chairwoman of the Indigenous Council of the Rights of Nature. Casey, please go ahead.
Thank you. It's good to be here on this panel with the Global Alliance of the Rights of Nature. As a Ponca woman from the occupied territory in the Northern Hemisphere we call Turtle Island, that we call home, I'm grateful to be here in the territory of the Amazonian people who have their own ways and their own way of living and protecting this sacred space that we all are being greeted as guests on. It's important to acknowledge the rivers here as well as the peoples. It's important to recognize the sacred forest and even the heat and the warmth and the thunders, because that is part of who we all are, whether we as human species acknowledge and recognize is our choice. But the choice is either we stay as a species on the face of our Mother the Earth, who has offered us and sustained us completely through our lifetimes as a species, or to be removed because we simply are not aligning ourselves with natural law. It's important that the human beings within these halls, those that call themselves the decision makers, and certainly those of the indigenous peoples here, have understood that they have a responsibility to the generations to come, not only of human species, but of all species on Earth, to say that we recognize that we eat, we drink, we breathe, the same as all other things that our Mother Earth provides. We must recognize ourselves now not as a separate being, but as one being with all that is. And we must teach those who don't understand the simplicity of it. We come here demanding human rights, indigenous rights, and various other rights. But in reality, human rights will not exist without the rights of nature being upheld. Natural law will always take precedent over human law. And only through the alignment, as we say with movement right, of human law and natural law, will there ever be a way forward for us. We must phase out fossil fuel. We must get rid of these carbon schemes that create a market that is destroying the very air. When we have this beautiful heat and humidity that we're all experiencing, that's a natural balance to our behavior as the human species. And in doing the things that we're doing here, I was taught by my ancestors that thoughts have power, words have power, and that prayer is an action, not simply saying, we want you to do something, Wakanda. We're saying, Wakanda, these are needed for the generations to come. Guide me in what I do to enhance and enrich the path for those coming behind me. For that's the same thing that happened before us, or none of us would be here. It's time for us to immerse ourselves in growing our foods, in caring for the waters, in understanding that fossil fuels have to go. They're already on their way out. What are we going to do to change our behavior and come back into balance with what Mother Earth and Father Sky have offered us? We have some of those in this report from Movement Rights. If any of you are interested, we can share that with you. That has many different understandings in many different ways. But those are just one small thing. Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature has many hubs, including the Indigenous Council. We invite you to be part of us in this fastest growing environmental movement that has ever happened. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Casey, for those important and powerful words. And right now, we're going to listen from Roberta Bosu. She is our campaigner for the Antarctica Working Group. And we're going to listen about the rights of Antarctica.
Thank you, Nati. Thank you, everyone. It's definitely a challenge to speak after Casey and Pablo, so I should have changed the order. But hi, everyone. I would like to start with a question. So if we go out of this room, and we go to the room where I'm taking the decisions, there is no tag where it's written Antarctica. Because Antarctica is not here. So as Pablo was saying, the Amazon is still not here, but there are some countries that can take the decisions. But we don't see Antarctica here. And Antarctica is not present in our global decision-making, and Antarctica is not present here at COP30. I also saw some maps today, and Antarctica was not even in the map, but we are not talking about a small place. We are talking about a place that covers 10%, almost 10% of our planet. A place that is the coldest, the windiest, yet the one that quietly regulates our weather, shapes our oceans, and stabilizes life itself. We will not be here without Antarctica. And still, while every country here has a voice in global decision-making, Antarctica remains silent. In these conferences and negotiations, there is no seat for Antarctica at the table. And what's happening in the meantime in Antarctica? Well, the ice is melting, wildlife is disappearing, tourism is increasing, and they're even getting married in Antarctica, just for you to know. And pressures from all across the world are threatening our fragile balance. So today, we are calling for the recognition of the rights of Antarctica, the rights to exist, to flourish, and to be legally protected from exploitation and harm. Recognizing Antarctica's rights in international law is a necessary step to ensure accountability. Decisions about Antarctica cannot be made without her in the room. The choices we make here, in these places, in these conferences, carry consequences that reach well beyond borders, shaping lives and environment across the globe, and Antarctica cannot be excluded. This movement is not just a legal initiative, it is a mandate to fundamentally change our relationship with the natural world. It calls for a transition from extractive practices to stewardship and from exclusion to inclusion, because we are nature. Let's not forget this. So on December 1st this year, December 1st, 2025, we will launch the Alliance for the Rights of Antarctica. And this is a call to governments, institutions, organizations, and citizens everywhere in the world to join us, to recognize the voice of Antarctica and to sign the Declaration for the Rights of Antarctica. Next year, we will sign this declaration in Cape Town, so it's going to be on December 1st, 2026. So let's not forget that we need Antarctica to be present. We need the voice of Antarctica because we are Antarctica, and Antarctica is us. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Let me just introduce you.
Sure.
Thank you,
I can
Roberta.
introduce myself.
Now we're going to listen to Francesco Martone. He's our chairperson for the Judges Assembly of International Rights of Nature Tribunal. And I just wanted to say that we finished a 4-day pre-COP summit of GARN with an amazing tribunal yesterday. So Francesco's going to tell us about it. Go ahead, Francesco.
Yes, thank you, Nadi. Yeah, the 6th International Tribunal that we held yesterday is actually the ending phase, step of a long phase of activities of the tribunal that developed along 2 different tracks. The first one was to judge the responsibilities of governments and companies in pushing through an aggressive agenda to continue extracting fossil fuels to the detriment of rights of nature and indigenous peoples, local communities, and human rights and the rights of environmental rights defenders. We held the first session during Climate Week in New York City last year, also back-to-back to the official activities, but also to the environmental movements, indigenous peoples movements, mobilizations that filled in New York City streets for days and days. And the decision and the choice to hold our tribunal inside the space of the People's Summit is actually a political choice, because we think the tribunal should be accessible and should be put at the disposal of the service of communities, movements, and indigenous organizations and communities in the front line that have no other opportunity, no other space to go to seek justice on behalf of Mother Nature. We delivered a judgment that picks up on the findings and the initial resolutions of the New York Tribunal, plus other tribunals that we held on Canadian mining companies that, in a nutshell, were somehow a way to analyze and condemn the impact of a new form of extractivism that is carried out and justified by the need to access critical and transition minerals for so-called just transition. So we try to understand how to come to terms with this contradiction. On the one hand, the system, the extractive capitalist system, is still pushing for fossil fuel, and at the time, they're pushing for new frontiers of extractivism. The judgment that we delivered will be accompanied by a very detailed set of judgments for companies that we analyzed and condemned. Secondly, we delivered a policy of the tribunal on defenders, because defenders and guardians of Mother Nature, they don't only come to the tribunal to represent ecosystems, but are also those that protect those ecosystems, and for doing so, they're increasingly being criminalized, harassed. And this is a very important point to stress, especially in Latin America, that is the continent that experiences the highest toll of indigenous peoples, environmental rights activists killed or detained or criminalized. Thirdly, we signed on a new pledge for Mother Nature that we are actually publishing today, and we will deliver into the COP as well. But this is mostly a message that joins the messages of the People's Summit that we'll open up later on this afternoon. And as Pablo was saying, we call for the recognition of the rights of the Amazon, but at the same time, we cannot stay silent in front of the contradiction of a government that is hosting a COP on the Amazon, and with the other hand, they give out oil drilling concessions and exploration concessions off the coast of the Amazon. For this reason, we plan to organize a tribunal in Ecuador, in Yasuní. Yasuní is a very important symbolic, but also experience. It's the first place in the world where a country and movement manages to keep oil underground. And this is a major achievement that is under threat right now. In the coming days, Ecuador will have to go to polls for a consultation forced by the current Ecuadorian government to do away with the Ecuadorian constitution. That is somehow the reference that we use because it's the only constitution in the world that recognizes the rights of nature. And this is for us a key concern that we want to use this forum to denounce the risks of such a decision. Lastly, we point to the contradiction of just transition. As I said before, we are very concerned that this push for critical and transition minerals might end up by representing a further threat to biodiversity and to the rights of indigenous peoples and local communities that live in those ecosystems in time immemorial, where in those ecosystems that represent also the support base, not only the life support base, but also the support base for the cosmologies and traditional knowledge system. And this is an impact that is very difficult to assess, but this is possibly one of the most detrimental ones carried out by, let's say, the dominant culture of extractive capitalism. That's it. I think this is it, more or less. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Francesco. As you have seen, this amazing panel that you have present shows not only the variety and the diversity of the movement that replicates the diversity of the ecosystems that populate life, but it also demonstrates the growth of this movement. A movement that started very early in 2008 in Ecuador and that has now reached 40 countries, 22 with legal proposals, 18 with projects, being the fastest growing movement in the world. I really want to call out the governments that are right now meeting, for the real reason why they should be meeting is for the continuation of life that is at risk right now in the planet. And we're not having those real conversations right now because the Amazon is not present, because Antarctica is not present, because the forest is not present, because the water is not present. And it should be present, and that is what we're asking the governments right now. I want to say that especially we want to ask the water to be present. We have our friends that are protecting the water, and I really want to acknowledge the presence of Ned and Ricky that are here, our Maori friends who come from New Zealand. They're the guardians of the Wanganui River, rivers that connect us all, rivers because we are water, water has rights, and water is not present at these conferences either. And we need to bring water, we need to bring the rights of nature and the voice of water and the voice of nature to these conferences. For that, you will see here a QR that I really advise you to share it, to have it and to share it. You'll find there our press release that includes not only what Francesco was saying, the new pact for Mother Earth that was signed yesterday by a group of amazing judges that have accompanied us for more than 11 years with the International Rights of Nature Tribunal. You can find that act and that pact there, the new pact with Mother Earth. You'll also find there the policy paper that we're promoting with the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature. You will find all the information that we have shared regarding the Declaration of the Rights of the Amazon. You will see the Declaration for the Rights of Antarctica, and you will see all the work that we do with our indigenous partners that are the voice of nature, that are guiding this movement, and we're really representing that. And lastly, I just want to say that as Francesco was saying, I myself, Natalia, come from Ecuador, the first country to recognize the rights of nature in its constitution, and a country that is actually risking to have that taken out of our constitution. This Sunday, November 16, there's going to be a really important voting. I actually had to change my plans and stop being here to go and vote because we need to vote no on Sunday. The new president is trying to change our constitution, a constitution that has advanced the rights of nature, the rights of indigenous people, a constitution that is upheld and admired by the rest of the world, and that now wants to be changed, and it wants to be changed by a government that is an authoritarian government that wants to implement and destroy nature to promote mining and to promote all development in our country, the first country to have rights of nature. So we are at risk. We have had a global call to support Ecuador. And this is a really amazing opportunity because allies from all over the world are really coming together, not only coming together to say yes to life, no to the consultation, they're coming together to support Ecuador, they're coming together from all over the world. I want to acknowledge that we have, for example, here our friend Cali, who has promoted the policy in Panama. Panama is the only country in this scenario that is promoting the rights of nature as a policy. And that is based on science, that is based on life. So let's not let the government of Ecuador get rid of the rights of nature. Please support our people, please support that voting, to vote yes to life, no to consultation. And if we can all say, yes to life, no to the consultation. Sí a la vida, no a la consulta. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please help us sharing around this QR and sharing the message of the rights of nature in these conferences that needs nature to be present in this room. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, she wants me to hold that. Are you sure? Thank you. Can you do that?
Oh, yeah, sorry.